my second test with these new Wildthorne watercolors that I received a couple of days ago will be a landscape, a mountain, sunset / moon. I haven't decided yet. It could be the sun, it could be a full moon. And you might recognize, if you're from Vermont or if you've seen my mountains before, the profile of Camel's Hump. I would like to work the sky wet and wet, so I am wetting the whole area with water, avoiding the area around the moon, removing some of the excess water. And I will start with the very light amount of wood violet. I would like that around this orb, because the orb is going to be on the yellow side and it will complement nicely this violet color. And then I will continue with the blue. Unfortunately, I do not have a dark Wildthorne blue. I only have this very pale sky blue, Bleu Ciel. My next purchase will include a darker blue. But for now, I will use what I have and darken it as much as possible with extra pigment, though this is a light pigment, so it's not going to go very dark. So let's call this then a sunset sky rather than a moonlit. Nevertheless, I'm going to put some of this dark iron in the sky. Because as I said, I'm mostly testing here. So I have wood violet, bleu ciel, and some dark iron. I want a sense of glow around the orb, so I want it to be lighter. I'm removing the extra water here. And then I'm going to take my chances with some Ochre Léger. I don't really want it to mix with the sky color, but my experience telling me that some mixing will happen, and that's okay. I can reinstate the ochreness of ochre, so to speak, in a second wash. I'm very picky about the look of the curve on this mountain. I'm not happy. There's something about doing it in a certain way that I don't like. Again, we'll fix things. Then I'm going with this beautiful, beautiful Bois de Rose, which means rosewood. The only rosewood I've seen in my life, and I'm not even sure it is rosewood, is some rosaries from Rome, scented with rose petals and made with rosewood, but I don't know if that's really true. I'm going to then go with Cassis, another color on my palette. Lovely, named after the blackcurrant used for the Cassis cream liqueur you might be familiar with. And next, I will use my raw umber. Now this is by far the strongest color on my palette. but if you dilute it, any color can become fairly light. In fact, if you dilute it enough, any color can be light. On the contrary, some colors will not be dark no matter what, and yellows tend to be those. And now on the bottom I'm using my Viridian. It's not a traditional Viridian. I think it's much nicer than a traditional Viridian. I'm going to let this dry and come back. One of the great pleasures of watercolor is to see how the paint dries. If I'm feeling especially meditative, which is not my temperament, but I have done this occasionally, just kind of watch it dry, because little bits of strange things that one could call magic happen. And you can see, for example, here how the way the paint from the other layer has seeped in has created these beautiful little blooms. And even though most of the time I don't sit and watch it dry, when I go back and see it dried, I'm always mesmerized. See, lots of blooms here, beautiful. I used Ochre Léger again here to highlight the color of the back mountain. What I'm also going to do is put a little bit of the wood violet on the part that doesn't see the sun or moon or whatever you want to call it. I am doing this by memory and imagination. So here's some Mimosa. So the colors are more expressive than anything else. I find these watercolors really encourage that. I'm also going to use Mimosa yellow for the inside of this orb. I guess we don't really have to know which celestial body it is. And then I'm going to add a little bit of Rosewood, Bois de Rose, just for a tiny orangey look. I'm going to use that same Rosewood here where I'd already used it. Some of it will blend with the layer above it and some of it won't, and that's something I really like in watercolor too. This mixture of lost and found edges is a technical term. Found edges are clearly defined. Lost edges kind of melt with whatever else you have going. In this case, ochre. I like what this is doing here. I'm gonna add some here too. The wood violet. So I'm just kind of playing around. And the Cassis is lovely, much more assertive than most of these other colors. I'm using, by the way, this lovely brush. It's Rosemary & Company number 8 Kolinsky. I'm thinking it's probably quite expensive. A friend of mine traded for a painting. She had more brushes than she could use, which is hard to imagine for me, but now I'm using the raw umber here. And so I ended up with this delightful, expensive brush. She ended up with one of my watercolors. We're both happy, I think. I'm certainly happy. I think I got the better deal here, but we all want different things. And then again, the Viridian I want to see what happens if I add some Mimosa to the Viridian, in case I need a lighter, brighter green. And it looks like they play together nicely, except that I messed up my... Here. I don't like wasting, so if I have a color on the brush, I like to use it, which is the reason behind a lot of my failed paintings, but it's okay. Never a failure, always a lesson. I saw this on a young woman's tattoo once. I'm really in love with this wood violet, so I'm going to try and put it here too. What happens if you mix wood violet, which is the first purple I like, I think, with burnt umber, or raw umber rather. And I think they like being together. And what if I put some ochre with the raw umber? Raw umber is cool, this ochre is rather warm. I think it works. This is too boring, this long expanse of yellows. I'm gonna... Alright, a little bit of Bois de Rose. I don't like large sheaths, swaths rather, of just one color. I like variety. And I'm going to put some yellow here, some mimosas. I've used almost every color. I still have some gold mica, and where to put it if not in a celestial orb? There it is, and it's shining onto the world, so I'll also put it on the tip of Camel's Hump. And the last color I haven't... Oh, I want to put some of that sky blue in the green and see what happens. I guess it's not strong enough to make much of an impact. I think I've used every color. I have the wood violet and the sky blue and the dark iron in the sky. I have the mimosa and the Bois de Rose, rosewood, both in the moon and here. I have the Cassis here, the burnt umber, the Viridian, and raw umber, and that's all. Thank you for watching. I'm going to let this dry and then give it as a gift to some